So we're going to start wrapping up day 2 now of RuneCup number 2. As you can see, my face is a little bit red. Went to Block Island, which is a little island off of Rhode Island. Had a pretty good time, but my body, my skin, not so much. It hurts. But besides that, we got some tournament stuff to go over here for day 2, starting with round 7. So we started the day with AnnieDesu versus Deriva Micro. And AnnieDesu, obviously no stranger to the competitive scene. So we'll see who is able to take home a victory here. And these last 2 rounds are getting towards the time of, if you lose, you might lose your top spot in the top cut. So we'll see if either player is able to advance. It's Stan. That's it. It's just Stan.
Wouldn't it be wild if his first name was like Robert or something?
Bob. It's like, all right, why is your name Stan exactly?
You ever think about doing that? Like, I'm just gonna make my gamer tag what I wish my first name was. Oh, Annie's getting into the game.
We're getting into the game, so let's go. Yeah, we can't even do like a cool, super awesome segue or anything like that. Like, Jesus, give us a second here. But round 7, AnnieDesu versus Deriva Micro getting started here. And it looks like we're going to have indoor spiders versus Karma Ezreal, like Boulevard said. Some pretty typical Runeterra right here.
So there is a Whimsy in the Karma Ezreal deck, and that can play out huge in a matchup like this.
Yes. Oh, yeah. See, so one of the great things Whimsy's good for, they who endure, basically polymorphing that bad boy into a 1/1 makes it do a whole lot of nothing. And not only that, you can actually kill it a lot easier afterwards while it's still in that 1/1 form. Starting with the hapless aristocrat, getting those followers going. Also with the Elise too. So actually, pretty good start for Annie, being able to be a little bit aggressive here, and that's usually against something like Karma Ezreal. You want to be aggressive. Karma Ezreal in the late game is a little bit harder to deal with. They usually have the tools to deal with something like They Who Endure, like you just mentioned, Whimsy, Will of Ionia. I'm not sure if Deriva is playing Will of Ionia, but
one Will of
Ionia. So the goal right now is probably to go wide as fast as possible and try to deal as much damage as fast as possible.
It's interesting. It feels like this patch, while we're seeing a lot of the same decks that we used to, there are very minor adaptations that we used to be very against that I'm coming around more on, specifically on this patch. And what comes to mind for me in particular is not only the Elise in the indoor spiders rather than something like Sejuani, but also the adaptation that we're seeing out of every deep player of going with 3 copies of Lore of the Depths. I don't know why, but it feels like this format, I'm much more okay with those 2 adaptations in particular.
Yeah, and we'll see how it pans out here. Have the Vile Feast onto his own hapless aristocrat, just to get the additional proc, the additional spiderling, go really prioritizing going wide there, and crucially leveling up his Elise here going into the next turn, which might be pretty big.
Yeah, it was a little bit scary. You know, a Thermo Beam could have come out there, and then you've basically wasted a Vile Feast. Your board looks like absolute garbage if you don't have this Elise. The Elise is probably going to die here, but you do get to push through 2 damage. Honestly, I'm still going to say that it's worth it, just because there's really not a lot of value that you get out of your Vile Feast in a matchup like this. And it looks like Annie is debating, do I want to use this Fury of the North to kill the Ezreal or protect my Elise?
Yeah, it looks like... All right, well, he's going to choose one or the other right now.
Decision time, Annie. Which one are we going for?
Ooh.
Personally, I think I like killing the Ezreal.
It feels really bad because you are losing not only 4 damage to face, but just, you know, the Elise in general. But that Ezreal is going to wreak havoc on your board. You don't really have too many great ways to deal with it. And that's exactly why Deriva played it early, right? I mean, getting an early Ezreal down against something like this Indoor Spiders deck is going to make your opponent, not really have any way to deal with your board. And on the flip side, you are going to get Mystic shots over and over again to deal with your opponent's board.
Yeah, and
I was like, wait a second, why is he surrendering?
Anytime I see the escape menu come up, I'm like, okay, it's a surrender. And I'm like, I don't know if Eye of the Dragon on turn 5 is really where I'm like, nuts.
It's too soon.
There goes my chances at winning the game.
Too soon. Don't do it.
But Annie does have a pretty good setup for himself here with that Cursed Keeper and the Blighted Caretaker. A very powerful combo that we've seen out of these indoor decks for quite some time. Doesn't quite have the board space to get it all done, though.
Yeah, And I feel like I'm usually the one to mention that. All right, touche. I feel like I'm always talking about board space when that card comes up. But yeah, I mean, it's a serious concern. Unfortunately, I guess you can consider that a drawback of Blighted Caretaker. Usually, it's not necessarily a drawback, but in this specific situation, you might have a little bit of a problem. Now, Tasty Fae Folk is juicy for Blighted Caretaker next turn. That is going to be a sweet attack target. Unfortunately, going to get that lifesteal, though. Going to put Deriva back up there. We were talking about Tasty Fae Folk yesterday. Is this card good?
It's what a lot of decks wanted Emerald Awakener to be.
Okay. Oh, that's the, 2/2 with Lighten, 6/6, yeah.
Yeah, where it's I want my Ionia lifesteal card, but I don't want to wait until turn 10 to get the full value off of it. I think if you are a deck that can struggle with aggro like the Karma Ezreal, then yeah, it's honestly a pretty good card. And it looks like AnnieDesu's kind of trying to figure out how to play this one. Would have felt really bad for that Tasty Fae Folk to come down if you had used the Fury of the North earlier to push damage with the Elise, because it looks like Deriva Micro is going to go back up to 20 here. There's not much you can do about that. Annie just contemplating, is this where I want to use my Glimpse Beyond? Honestly, it's kind of a tough spot. If you use it proactively on something like the Cursed Keeper, if your opponent uses removal on it after the fact, you don't feel as bad. But here, if they deny the Glimpse Beyond, it feels so terrible.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, that's why I like this Vile Feast more. I think that that's kind of the better line here, because you are just going to have Deriva only allowed to use that Tasty Fae Folk one time, as opposed to him being able to block with it or something else next turn. It feels bad because you really would have liked to challenge it with a sapling with the Blighted Caretaker if your opponent has to get 4 lifesteal, but you don't want to get 2 procs of that off. You got to go ahead and kill it now, get the additional Spiderling. And again, with that Spiderling being summoned too, the board is still pretty full here, not going to be able to get the full value out of the Caretaker.
And there's the third Vile Feast for AnnieDesu. Honestly, one of the worst cards in this matchup. Really doesn't have any primo targets for you to hit. Our board is still too overloaded for the Caretaker. And yeah, we're going to have to use this down onto a Spiderling. And I think you can still go for an open Glimpse Beyond onto the Cursed Keeper. Get that Escaped Abomination. If your opponent does Mystic Shot in response, it doesn't feel as bad because you're still getting some kind of value out of it.
Yeah, this you nailed it. I mean, drawing 3 Vile Feasts just feels terrible in this matchup. I mean, sure, it's giving you more tokens to feed this They Who Endure, but that's really just a consolation prize. I mean, you need that They Who Endure to come down ASAP if that's the case, and this isn't cutting it. I mean, he's probably going to get these Eye of the Dragons to proc for the next turn, too.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever seen Endure Spiders beat Karma Ezreal with 1 Endure and no Atrocity.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's the kind of world that we live in here in Legends of Runeterra.
Yeah. What world do we live in, Boulevard?
We live in one where typically the Karma Ezreal deck comes out on top, or you need multiples Endures slammed down together and an Atrocity on backup, and Annie just doesn't have the pieces. I think we are at a point where this Glimpse Beyond absolutely has to resolve.
Oh yeah, if he can't get this down, he's done. Because not only we were talking about Whimsy and Will of Ionia earlier, both one-ofs in Deriva's deck, but we also have 2 Steel Tempest and 3 Concussive Palms, and that's another way to, it doesn't deal with, Atrocity per se, but one of the other ways, obviously, that They Who Endure wins is just, pressing the attack button, and stuns prevent that. And so there's a lot of tools in Deriva's deck right now that even if Annie is able to get things going, I don't think he's going to win. I don't know what he's so happy about. His hand is really not that great right now.
It looks like he's going through his morning stretches.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that he's in a good mood, I guess. But I like the dances, though. I can't complain.
He looks like he's still waking up because, I mean, so AnnieDesu does live in Europe, if I am correct. I'm about 99%
so that if
sure on that one.
he's just waking up, it's like midnight there.
Yeah, it's actually probably more like I'm getting ready for bed. These are my.
So he's gonna be up till 3 a.m. tonight if he makes top cut. So we're gonna see what Annie decides to do next here. Gonna go ahead, fire off another Vile Feast. Unfortunately, I mean, I say unfortunately, but he does get rid of an Eye of the Dragon. He does have a pretty wide field as far as being able to attack is concerned, but there are 3 Static Shocks in Deriva's deck. So we did see one already come out. We may see another one in response to a attack turn coming up here in a second. But this might be the turn he gets Glimpse off. If he gets Glimpse off, I'm trying. Deriva at 2 mana has Mystic Shot. So all right, I was just gonna say, do you definitely do it on the Abomination there? It looks like he does agree, wants to guarantee that it goes off.
And that still feels kind of awkward, but we do pick up some really good cards in the Ruination and the Stalking Shadow. Stalking Shadow is absolutely going to be the refill that we were looking for. I had mentioned yesterday that Ravenous Butcher is probably the worst one that you could find. It's really awkward because you probably have to play the Ephemeral Butcher over something and then just play the real Butcher over the Ephemeral one.
Yeah.
And that does still feed your Endure double, but it doesn't feel good.
Again, that is very much a consolation prize. It's not that great. And wow, this just feels so bad. I'm gonna go ahead and so he's actually so he's doing just this that he gets the They Who Endure. I love the emotes going off right now. And I guess we're just gonna go for a They Who Endure being summoned, and we're gonna cross our fingers and pray that this attack makes it. And oh no, he's actually all right. So he's just gonna take the open attack right now. Looks like he's going for a Ruination with the Curse of Keeper next turn.
He does need to get this Karma off board. And I think that if you go for the Endure, sure, you get to eat a stun effect out of your opponent, but the Karma is going to sit around. That's going to level on your next attack turn. And you put yourself in a really rough situation. It's actually really good for Annie that he got the Stalking Shadows when he did. While Ravenous Butcher was the only target, it means that his 3 other top cards were all spells. And Atrocity probably isn't going to get it done. I think you are just looking for another Endure. So it's actually really good that he was able to shuffle all of those away.
Yeah, I mean, it's still going to be random at the end of the day, but yeah, it does look like he didn't have the best options available to him. There's 2 Deny in Deriva's deck, so I got to agree with you. Drawing Atrocity, I don't think really would have done it. We do see one of the Steel Tempests come out anyways on the Ravenous Butcher. I'm going to go ahead and Mystic Shot the Spiraling to basically prevent any and all damage from coming through, and we'll see if this Karma lives. I mean, we have the Ruination mana. We can go ahead and play it. Looks like he's going to drop the Curse of Keeper first, see if Deriva is going to commit anything else. Isn't going to do it, unfortunately. And we see the Ruination. Does this get denied if you have Deny?
I think it depends on if I have another Karma, and yeah, the Deny is going to come out. You have so many other answers for the Atrocity between Whimsy and Will of Ionia that I don't think you're really hanging on to Denies for that one. Or you could even just have both Denies in hand and recognize that that's sort of the only card you're worried about. Or conversely, your opponent only has 1 card left in hand. If it is Atrocity, then you know that they don't have Endure. You can go ahead and use that Deny there.
Yeah, and I mean, on the side of Annie, at least that's 1 Deny down, I guess. So if he does manage to draw Atrocity with this They Who Endure in his hand, it could potentially be game, but there is still something like Whimsy.
1 shy of lethal at the moment.
I mean, I'm sure it'll get up. Oh, wow, no, he ends up summoning it. Okay. So how do you push... I mean, I guess you just have to get the attack through now, right? Like, if he's summoning it before it gets up to 17 or even 20 for that matter, he has to get an attack through and also Atrocity, or somehow over 2 turns get an attack through, but that's a lot of draws and a leveled Karma at that point. I don't think we ever get to that.
No, that seems pretty unrealistic, especially given the amount of random spells that Deriva has actually managed to make with this Karma. You know, we could see extra Concussive Palms, extra Denies, extra Whimsies, anything like that. I think the fact that Whimsy got added to Karma's random generation pool is really big, actually.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And, okay. We're going to see a Dawn of Dusk come out.
We're just going to... This is Deriva Micro saying, I'm never going to get to cast this card again. I might as well get 3 random spells out of it.
Yeah, wow. Not every day you see that just kind of tossed to the side. So it's basically a 6 mana... Draw 2 spells, 2 random spells.
I'm actually kind of curious about that because I do think with Dawn and Dusk, there's actually a good amount of potential to just burn out your opponent with the Karma. But I mean, if you have Ezreal in hand as well, it doesn't make a whole lot of a difference, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. You have 3 Karma on board, even with like 1 Mystic Shot and 1 Get Excited. I think that's game. So
yeah, and he is running Get Excited.
There's the Whimsy. There is the Whimsy. I imagine we see a Static Shot. Oh no, actually, it's just gonna get blocked anyways.
I was thinking we were going to see a different S word.
What's
a surrender?
Oh. I was like, whenever somebody says like a letter and then word following that, I'm like, wait, is this a swear? Like, what's going on? Is this profanity we're talking about?
I'm going to say the X word.
The X word. Wow. So this was a pretty convincing win. I mean, I am already calling it. I know. It's bad luck. We'll see what happens, but... on the side of the Karma Ezreal deck, I mean, it just looked like Annie really didn't have a chance most of this game.
shit, look at this position. You can go ahead and sprinkle a little bit of bad luck in Deriva's direction. I don't think it's going to make a whole lot of impact on the outcome of this game.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. This is down in the dumps. This game is over. Deep meditation on top of it. If he didn't already have enough spells, well, now he's got more. And even Burns get excited. Wow. Yeah, and again, we were talking about Whimsy before. If anything, right? If you got people out there saying, yeah, Whimsy might not be that great. It's not the best card in the world. But if anything, in any meta where there's They Who Endure decks, a one of Whimsy, I feel, will always be good. Even without They Who Endure, Whimsy can target so many things and just completely negate them. I really think it's a great card.
I'm actually a little surprised not to see more of it in the current format, given that Twisted Fate Swain is so popular, and that Leviathan is a card that historically Karma Ezreal struggles to deal with outside of specifically Thermogenic Beam.
Yeah, Leviathan. God. Is that a card that we're ever going to stop talking about? Probably not.
I hope not.
I love that card.
I don't like the ocean, but I'm coming around on boats.
Well, one boat in particular. We had this discussion yesterday. The rest of the boats aren't really doing so hot.
Yeah. And it's not often that we even get to see double Leviathan, so I can't be like, yeah, that's what I meant by boats. No, we pretty much never see that. One Leviathan is all it takes.
Well, last week. Did we see it last week that we had two on board?
I believe so, yeah.
I think
we had to argue about whether it's a fleet or just a pairing.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of big snoops.
I mean, do we do we ever see three on board to call it a fleet though? Like that's.
God, now how have you not won it?
I mean, yeah. Listen. By that point, you're just passing back and forth for the sake of getting three Leviathan on the board. Like I don't know if you actually survive long enough to go 3 turns of taking Leviathan hits. What was that, Matt? 3 + 6 is 9. Oh, you could. Oh wait, yeah, you could technically.
Yeah. I mean, you could also just lifesteal back up that entire time. But
so we're gonna see the They Who Endure again versus this time. Let's see. Deriva Micro is now playing. Oh God. I had the decks up too. TF Swain. Yeah, this is TF Swain. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Listen, a part of me was like, maybe this deck is different. Maybe it's not TF Swain, even though everybody's playing it. Nope, it's the same. Although, I will say, only 1 copy of Riptide Rex in this deck. So, a little bit... I don't know. I feel like 2 or 3 is pretty the standard nowadays. Is that a good thing, a bad thing? What do you think that decision was predicated on?
I don't think we usually see 3. I think 1 or 2 is the consensus. I think it was 2 a lot last patch. These days we are mostly seeing 1. I'm not totally sure if that's like a conscious decision that everyone made or like what we're going for here. Looks like the Make It Rain is going to come down, and yeah, and Annie just decided, I know the Make It Rain is coming. I don't actually want to lose my Spiderling attack to this barrel just blowing up here. And, I mean, you don't really need to Vile Feast the barrel. You're losing your board to the Make It Rain anyway. Here we are going to see the Glimpse Beyond. Is there another Make It Rain to try and RNG to deny the draw? That would feel pretty risky, and it looks like Deriva either doesn't have it or doesn't go for it.
Yeah, this is a much better start to the game for AnnieDesu than last time. Going to be able to get that value off the sapling. Not doing a ton of damage yet, but is able to get an early Glimpse Beyond off. Has the Elises in his hand as well if he wants to try to start to put some pressure on. 2 Stalking Shadows, too. It's interesting. I don't think a whole lot of people when that card was released really immediately thought They Who Endure. It does seem like a pretty obvious addition to the deck now. Most people just thought straight aggro or like the fearsome decks and stuff like that we've seen floating around. But this card is so good in this deck.
I think everybody wanted to stop thinking about Endure for a while. Like, you don't see new cards and be like, what makes its way into They Who Endure?
What's going to make this deck that everybody hates better?
And we actually have seen some Doom Beasts come out in a couple of these decks as well. Annie is not playing it here, but we've seen quite a few fearsome versions running around that actually are playing that card as well.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I actually made the mistake yesterday thinking there was going to be a Neverglade Collector in the deck, and there wasn't because it was the fearsome version. Yeah, that I want to say this version, the more typical version, is more popular still for now. But yeah, we are seeing the fearsome version start to become a little bit more prevalent. And I think that's probably the more fun way to play the deck. But I think that the way Annie's built it is the more competitive, more consistent way to play the deck.
All right, it's more fun until you miss an allegiance.
Is it? Yeah, it's never fun to... All right, listen.
When you just play a 4-mana 4/3 vanilla, you just... just like, oh, come on, man. Why do I even play They Who Endure? I should just cut it and run Mono Shadow Isle.
It's better than a vanilla 4-mana 3/3, okay?
If you say so.
Missing Bannerman never feels good, man, okay? Not cool. I've played enough Bannerman no-brain scout decks or whatever you want to call them to know that it sucks missing a Legions.
Generally, I just say scouts. You added a lot of extra words there.
So we see... so Fury of the North, too. This is a card that we talked about a little bit briefly yesterday. Obviously, the... being nerfed down to the +3/+4 instead of +4/+4. But... people thinking, all right, well, that's still good enough to be put in something like They Who Endure decks, and we do still see 2 copies of it here in Annie's deck.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, the big hit on the nerf was the fact that, oh, now if something is frostbitten, I can't save it from Culling Strike anymore. But because the other nerf in that patch was directed at Frostbite and mid-range, that's not a situation you're seeing happen a whole lot anymore. There's not a lot of Frostbite and the Culling Strikes going around. And I know that Culling Strike really still isn't being played in Twisted Fate Swain. I thought it might pick up a little bit more popularity just because there are so many 3-attack units organically running around in the format right now. And I don't know how Annie keeps only hitting 1 unit off his Stalking Shadows.
Yeah, it feels a little bad. That's why... one of the first complaints about that card was, oh my god, a 2-mana draw 2 tutor, like that seems so broken. But it's only followers in the top 4, and I think almost every time I've seen it played, it's either 1 or 2 followers, which seems about right, unless you are playing like the full-on fearsome deck where it's all followers or units. But so for that reason, though, what we keep seeing with AnnieDesu, it's not that busted considering you can just hit 1 follower a lot of the time.
I do like the idea of going back towards a more unit-heavy version of the deck. I know when we kind of first started seeing Endure Spiders pick up a lot of popularity, Winding God broke out a version that only played Vengeance, Atrocity, and Glimpse Beyond. He just cut every other spell from the deck in what was typically a very spell-heavy version and just went, you know what, no, we only need the units. These are the baseline spells. This is the bare bones. This is all I need. And I think Stalking Shadows could find its way into a deck like that, and maybe we just go Stalking Shadows, Glimpse Beyond, and Atrocity.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, it's more draw. It is thinning your deck. It is making sure you get more followers to feed the They Who Endure. Getting it on Cursed Keeper, on the other hand. So again, actually, was that 1 unit again? Or was that 2? Yeah, there's only
that
one.
Was 1
so
unit.
Again, we see only 1 unit. But hitting a Cursed Keeper feels really, really good. Being able to essentially get a free, not only a free kill to feed the They Who Endure, but also a free 4/3 onto the board.
Ooh, and Annie just has to eat that Swain attack and take that 6 damage. That never feels good.
Nope, no fearsome blockers on his side of the field. So kind of weird spot for Annie. I mean, he had a much better start, but it almost seems like he's starting to fall behind here just because Deriva is able to drop this Swain and still no blockers. Like nothing that Annie can do outside of playing this They Who Endure to actually block this Swain.
Well, he's got the Escaped Abomination now. Can upgrade the Elise this turn, assuming everything lives, though that could be kind of a tall order. But now Annie's sitting on double Endure going into this turn 7. Things are looking okay. I don't think it's nearly as big as he wants it, and it feels like last game he had a problem where he ran out of cards, didn't quite have all the draw to get him through it. And this game, he just has so much draw, he doesn't have the time to play all of it.
Gonna opt to drop one of those They Who Endures, so this one's at a 9/9. Oh, Arachnoid Sentry. Feels bad. The Arachnoid Sentry basically is just like your opponent saying no. Like you were gonna do something, now you're not.
At least it doesn't die to double Ravenous Flock. We're trying to find something here, and there's not a lot to be found on the side of optimism as far as AnnieDesu is concerned, but does at least still maintain 2 fearsome blockers. I don't think Deriva is going to be able to get through an attack with that Swain again, though that might be what he's trying to contemplate right now. He's like, oh, if I throw a Noxian Fervor onto this 4/3, and then I throw out something at face next turn to stun out that Endure, what are the odds he can do it again? But actually just goes for Twisted Fate's pick a card going into turn 8, so a pretty good shot at finding a Leviathan or a Riptide Rex.
Yeah, wait, what is TF at right now?
Probably pretty high. It looked like 7.
He might be leveling
this
up.
Could be a level TF.
That's not good. And that's what I was just going to mention. Very quietly, this TF, as we've said before, a little bit easier in this current metagame to level the TF. And leveled TF is never a good TF if you're on the other side. This is not very good for Annie.
Yeah, now all of a sudden your Endure attacks are basically off the table as the gold card can continuously come out in combat. The Ruination is just 1 mana shy for AnnieDesu, so isn't going to have that available to clean up the board. And I believe this could just be the end of the game here. a red card would level the Swain, as well as clear out a lot of those chump blockers.
Yeah, and this will be surprising. I mean, this is 2 very quick losses with They Who Endure deck. And, you know, I'm not going to say They Who Endure hasn't done well today. I mean, we've definitely seen it win, but it hasn't impressed me so far with really any of the matchups that we've seen. And 2 games right here, this is kind of insane how quickly it's losing.
If this Make It Rain hit face, that's actually really big for Deriva, as the Swain did get leveled prior. Now, yeah, gonna hit face. That's gonna get a Swain stun. Now the next thing will be a gold card. Will take out that last fearsome blocker, and AnnieDesu would have to either play his second Endure here, or do something like play this Cursed Keeper and then kill it in his own way to get the Escaped Abomination out. It's a really rough situation, just being... It's so awkward to be just 1 mana shy of this Ruination the turn that you top deck it.
Yeah. Yep, and we've seen it happen so many times in the past. Does have the other They Who Endure, so I mean, the Swain can be blocked. I don't know... Okay, yeah, this is the gold card, so it actually doesn't matter.
You still just have lethal with your attacks. Yeah.
Wow.
Too many units on the side of Deriva Micro. AnnieDesu 1 mana shy of his board wipe, not able to get it done. And yeah, for what we thought was going to be a pretty standard game of Runeterra based on the lineups, AnnieDesu falling 0-2 with that Endure Spiders.
Really quick, like, okay, it's 2:37. I'm pretty sure that was 2 games taking about 20 minutes.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's insane. All right, so unfortunately, Deriva going to take down AnnieDesu, and we'll see if Annie's still able to make the top cut here in this tournament. But as always, everybody stay healthy, stay positive. I hope shit just works for you. Peace out.